As we begin this video, please make sure to copy these lines of CSS from my repository and copy them into your index.css so that whatever we're going to be building in this video is going to behave as you would expect it to behave. The repository is linked in the description and it is called HTML CSS YT. So this next project is going to be an image gallery, and it's going to involve a bit more setup before we can begin, because we're going to be using an API from Unsplash to get the images, and we're going to be using the JavaScript fetch API to get the images. So in order to set up our Unsplash account, we have to go into unsplash.com, and I already have an account with them, but if you don't have an account, then it's going to show you a sign up button. And then once you sign up, then you're going to have access to this tab right here, which says Developers API. So if you go into this link, then you're going to have this, and then you can go into your apps. And then I have two apps created here, and for this particular demonstration I'm going to be using the image gallery 2. But if you don't have an application, then you can just go ahead and say new application, which is going to create a new application for you. You just have to follow the steps. So inside here we need access to something, and we need access to our access key, which is this right here, because this is what we're going to be using to send GET requests to the API so that we can actually get back some data. So right away I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to show you an example of the data that we're going to get back by going into documentation. And inside documentation, what we're going to need is a list of photos. So you can see that the GET request that we're going to be sending goes to /photos as the endpoint. So for example, for this one, I can just copy this, and then I can just say go to this link, and then of course it's going to give me an error because I don't have the access token. So at the end of this, I'm going to append client_ID, and then I'm going to paste this in, so equals to this. And then when I send this, then you notice that now we get back some data. So we get back the ID created at, and so on and so forth. And if I close this down, you see that we get 10 items by default. By the way, this is an extension called JSON formatter. That's why I can see these items as they are. So what we're going to do is, using JavaScript, we're going to be sending a GET request to this link. And then once we send that GET request, we're going to be getting back a few items, and the items we're going to get back is the image that we see here. And then we're going to get back the tags. Does this have tags? I don't know if it has tags. Let me just confirm. Okay, so it doesn't have tags, but what we can do is we can use a tagline here. We can use the tagline to display it here instead of these tags, and then we're going to get the number of likes, and the number of likes is right here, and then that's what we're going to display on the right. So pretty simple enough project, but it has a bit of complexity to it. So yeah, let's get started. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, inside here I've created a new folder, and this new folder is called image gallery. And inside here you can see it is empty. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create an index.html file. So index.html, and inside here I'm also going to create a new file called styles.css, and then I'm also going to create my index.js, and then in my index.html I'm going to say exclamation and enter, and then I'm going to link my global style sheet, which is /index.css, and then I'm also going to link my internal style sheet, which is styles.css. And then just before the closing body tag, I want to link my script file, which is coming from index.js. And then I'm going to change this title into project 7, and I'm going to say image gallery. And then inside here we're going to have an h1 that says recommended for you, and then below this we're going to have a div with a class of image-gallery, like so. And then inside this div with a class of image gallery, I'm going to have an article, and this article is going to be an image which is going to be coming from this image here, which is coming from the API. And you know what I can do is I can just copy a random image here. Where is it? Just a random image. Let me see. Okay, so let me copy this image. Okay, just open this link and copy this link, and then just paste in this link here. And below this, we're going to have a UL with 2 list items. This first one is going to say the tagline. This is going to say the tagline, like so. I almost jumped into programming in React. That's why you saw my curly brackets. And then this second one is going to say the number of likes, like so. And then I'm going to save this and open this up with Live Server. Okay. And you can see that this is what you have on the screen, but our image is not showing. So let me just get the correct download image. So this one, let me just paste it inside here so that we can see our image. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. So this is our image. So what I want to do is we want to style this out before we actually send our GET request. So what I'm going to do is inside our styles, I just want to say that for the H1, I want to have a padding of 4 rem on the top, 1.5 rem on the left and right, and 2 rem on the bottom. And then I want to change the color into into 333, not F. F is white. And then on top of this, I want the body to have a background color of hashtag F1, 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 which is a very slight gray, so that we're going to have this. Okay. And then once we have that, then I want to go into, where is it? Into this div with a class of image gallery. And I want to say that for the dot image gallery class, then I want to say display grid with grid template columns. For mobile screens, first they're going to be 1 fractional column, and then I'm going to add a grid gap of 2 rem. Okay, and then I want to add a padding on the x-axis of 1.5, so padding on the top of 0 and padding on the x of 1.5 rem, like so, so that it pushes inwards. And then I want to go inside, let me see, inside this article, so that I can give this article a background color of white. So for the dot image gallery and for the article, I want to say background color, set this to white, hashtag FFF. Okay, so that we're going to have this. And then let's add a padding of 1.5 rem, and then let's add a border radius of 2 rem. So that is going to be rounded, as you can see. And then let's also add a slight box shadow, so box shadow of 0.2 rem on the horizontal, sorry, then 0.2 rem on the vertical, and then 0.2 rem on the blur, and then RGBA of 0.2 for our box shadow for the color. There we go. And then the next thing that we want to do is access this image so that we can give this image a rounded border as well. So for the dot image gallery, for the article, I want to access the image and say border radius, set this to 2 rem as well. Okay, and then I can say margin dash bottom of 2 rem once again to push it away from this tagline, and that's a bit too big, let's say 1 rem. And then let's access the UL. So for the dot image gallery, I want to say that for the article, for the UL and for the list items, I want to do this. I want to have a background dash color of hashtag F1, F1, F1. Let me see how that looks. Okay, let me see, actually, you know what, let me see this color. What color is this? What color did I use? 999 with an opacity of 45%. So let's use hashtag 999, and then we need to add an opacity of 45%, so 0.45, 0.45. There we go. Okay, so we are going to have this. And then for the text, I want the text color to be hashtag 333. Okay, so we're going to have that. And then now what I want to do is I want to display these 2 items as inline blocks. So I'm going to say display inline block, and watch what happens. They're now going to display like this. Okay, and then let's add some padding. Let's add a padding of 0.01 rem all round. Actually, that's barely visible. 0.1 rem. Let's say 0.5 rem. Okay, so let's say 0.2 rem on the top and bottom, and 0.5 rem on the left and right. This is rem, like so. And then let's add a border radius of 0.625 rem all round, so that we're going to have that. Let's reduce the font size. Reduce this to 0.9 rem, and then move this upwards. Okay, so we're going to have that for mobile. And you know what, instead of having display block here, because I want this to go all the way to the end, I'm going to access this URL, and I'm going to say display flex, and then align item center and justify content to space between, which is going to move them to the end like so. And then I'm also going to add a flex wrap here, so that just in case the tagline goes all the way to the end, then this line, the number of likes here is going to automatically go into the next line. And we're going to see that in action once we get our data. And then now I just want to scale this up, so where I had my grid, and my grid is somewhere here, I just want to change the grid template columns to 2 and to 3 for larger screens. So I'm going to say that for art media, for a mean width of 768 pixels, then I want to access my image gallery, and I want to change this into repeat twice and 1 fractional column each, so that now this is going to be the another grid, a separate grid. And then for about, let's say for about 1280 pixels, let's say 1280 pixels, let me just copy this downwards, and let's say for 1280 pixels, 1280, let's repeat these 3 fraction columns. Okay, so we're going to have that. You can barely see it, but once you get more images, then you're going to see how it's going to work. Okay, so right here are 2 grids, and then right here are 3 grids. So let's increase the size of this h1 as well. So right around here, let's have an h1, oops, not 1h, so h1, let's say the font size, and set this to 3 rem. How big is that? That's much better. Okay, so let's go ahead and now let's get the data from our API. And the first that I'm going to do is just copy this link. And by the way, I should mention that please go ahead and create your own application, because if you try to use this when you're watching the video, then it's going to give you an error, because I am going to delete this application, or rather I'm going to disable this API key once we are done. So inside here, let's go inside our index.js. So to fetch our data, I'm going to be using arrow functions and an asynchronous function, which returns a promise. So I'm going to be using async await as our keywords. So I'm going to say const fetch images is equal to async, so an asynchronous function. And then I'm going to say that const response that we get back from the API. And you can think of an API like a waiter in a restaurant, where they come to you, they get your order, and then they go to the kitchen, they get your food, and then they return the food to you. So basically just how a server works, really. So that's what we're doing. So we are sending a get request to the API. It's going to send a request to the server, and then it's going to give us back a response. So we're saying that for the response, we're going to say await fetch, and we are fetching in, we're going to pass in this as a string, and we are fetching the data from this link. And then I'm going to say const data, which is the data that we get back. I'm going to say await response.json, like so, which means convert the response into JSON format. And JSON stands for JavaScript object notation. So you can read more about that if you want. And then once I do this, then I just want to say console.log the data. And then I'm just going to call the function. So call the function fetch images. So save this. And then let's see what we have on the screen by opening up our console. So F12, and we should see something in the console. You can see that we get an array of 10 items. So there we go. So this is all the data that we get back from the API. So we want to get it from here and then display it on the screen. So now that we've confirmed that we're getting back something from the API, what I want to do is I want to get this div right here, because we are going to be appending the data from the API into this div, which is the image gallery. So let's go ahead into our index.js, and on top of this, I'm just going to say const image gallery is equal to document dot query selector, and I'm selecting the dot image dash gallery. And then below this, what I'm going to do is I want to create an element called an article. So I'm going to say const create article is equal to, let me just call it article element is equal to document dot create element, and we're creating an article. And then now what I want to do is the data that we get back, because it is an array of 10 items, I want to loop over each of the items in the array and then display an article. So I can do that using an array method called map. So before I do that, what I want to do is I want to append this article element to the image gallery. So I'm going to say image gallery dot append child, and I am appending the article element. So when I save this, you can see that now our article appears. Okay. So now that this is visible on the screen, then what I want to do is I want to add the inner HTML of this article element. So I'm going to say article element dot inner HTML is equal to, and I'm going to place it inside backticks like so. And backticks just allow us to add in variables more easily. And so what I'm going to do inside here is I'm going to place my $sign and curly brackets, and this is how you add a variable inside backticks. And here I'm going to say data dot map, because the data is what we are getting back here, where we are saying await response.json. So data dot map, and I want to say that for every item that I get back, okay, so every item that I get back, I want to place in my brackets like this and place in other backticks. And then once I place in these backticks, then I want to return, I want to get back an image. So image, and the source for this image is going to be from $sign item. Okay, so now we get it from item because we are mapping over it. So item dot urls dot full, which is coming from the API. And in case the image fails to load, then I just want to display the name of the person, which is coming from item dot user dot name, and then close this out. And remember, this is coming from the API, so you can go through the API, and you see user is right here, and then we get the name of the user, which is this one. And then once we have this, then we're going to create ULs. So close it out as well, ULs. And this structure, by the way, if it's a bit hard to understand, the structure is basically the same thing that I did inside here. So that's why I have this, just for like a reference. And then inside here, we're going to have two list items. So close them out. So paste the second one. And then this first list item is going to say item dot, we want to get the tagline, right? So the tagline is, where is it? Sponsorship. Okay, here it is. So the tagline is inside the sponsorship dot tagline. So here I'm going to say item dot sponsorship dot tagline, and then this second one is going to say item dot likes, and then how many likes, then we just want to add some text that says likes. So the number of likes, so like 67 likes. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then let's see what we have on the screen. And we have nothing on the screen. We should have at least something. We should have, let's check our console. Let's say cannot read properties of null reading tagline. So it can't access tagline. So let's do this. So instead of rendering tagline, let's say item.user.name. So just show the name of the person instead of the tagline. So let's see. So we are getting back 10 items. And would you look at this? Something is wrong though. Something is wrong. We shouldn't be having this, so something is wrong. First of all, let's fix this, and let's first begin by removing this. So we can just go ahead and remove this article because we no longer need it, as all the data is now passed in from the API. And let's see. So how is this styling applied? So it's taking this one as one grid and then appending 10 images to it, as you can see, right? It's appending 10 images here. So what is happening? What is happening? What do I need to do here? So I think we're going to have to restructure a bit. So I want to append it inside the image gallery. because the image gallery is the one that has the grid. Okay, so the image gallery has the grid inside here. Okay. So now what we want to do is create an element here. So let me try this. Here, let's change this into a div. Okay, and then let's grab all of this and then wrap it inside an article. So close it out, and then let's wrap it inside an article and paste this in. Let me see if that is going to make a difference. Okay, look at this now. So we are wrapping it inside an article, and now we can separate the single articles. Okay, and then now I just need to figure out what is this. What is this? I can't seem to find it even in my code. What is happening? Grab this. I can't even grab it. Really, I can't even access it. Okay, I'm going to find it, don't worry. So now what we need to do is we need to go inside this div. Remember, we are creating an element called div. So now instead of displaying the image gallery as a grid, we're going to display the image gallery div, and then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. So image gallery div, and then here image gallery div. So when I save this, then they should appear. And my internet is down. My internet is down. Okay. Okay, so okay, now look at this. They are displaying as 1, 2, 3 divs. Okay, so this is a div, but it is a div with this with this thing on the top left. And you can see even for these ones when programming can be so annoying sometimes. Okay. Now, before this annoys me, let me first fix our images, because I want our images to all have a fixed height. So where we have our images is right here. I'm going to set the height to, let's say, 320 pixels, or let's say 20 rem, and then the width is going to be 100%. And then I'm going to say object fit and set this into cover, and I'm going to disable this so that you can see why we need to add it in. So save this, and we should see this. Okay, now look at the images that are long. You can see they are a bit stretched out or like thinned out, right? So adding object fit of cover, just make sure that the image covers the entire space without being thinned out or stretched out too much. Okay, so this is what we're going to have. For example, if my computer is going to load in, now let me just figure out what is this, because I can't seem to find it, because now this is the only thing that is spoiling the layout. So once I remove it, then it's going to come back inside here, and it is somewhere in our JavaScript. Let's remove this console log. Which is this one right here. All right, guys, so after about 30 minutes of trying to figure this out by myself, I went to the internet and into Stack Overflow, and I found a similar question here that says unexpected comma when using map, which is what we are using inside here. And then the explanation is quite simple that I feel so stupid. And the explanation is that template literals use the toString method, which by default joins the returned array by map with a comma. So it's because of that, it's because we're using template literals here that we have an extra comma in our application. So in order to remove that, then we just need to add the dot join. Where is it? We just need to add dot join at the end of this. Okay, so inside here we just need to add dot join like so that it removes the trailing comma, and then now our application should work correctly. Okay, so would you look at that? And just in case you were wondering whether I practiced beforehand, you can see that now for real I had not built any of these projects, so I hadn't even tested out some of these things. So yeah, and now what I want to do is I just want to limit this on large screens. So I'm going to go inside my, which one is this? So I'm going to go inside my, should be the body. Let's just go inside the body, And I'm just going to give the body a max width of 1600 pixels, and then I'm going to set the margin to auto, that is going to center. Okay, so when the body is greater than 1600 pixels, then this content is going to be centered. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and ring the notification bell so that you're always going to be notified of when I upload a new video.